This is Gemara Avodah Zarah Daf Chaf Vav, and we're holding on Chavav and Aleph as we begin a new Mishnah. A Mishnah that's going to continue on the theme of the previous ones, in which it discusses the interactions, the level of care one has to take with their way they deal, their interactions with Goyim. Says the Mishnah, Bas Yisrael lo yisiyaleid es avodas kachavim. A Bas Yisrael should not deliver a child of a guy. Why? Mibnei shemiyaledes ben la'akum. The reason being because she's then delivering a child for Avodah Zarah. Aval, however, akum yaledes bas Yisrael. One is allowed to have a guy deliver their own Yiddish child. Number two, bas Yisrael lo yisanik b'nashalakum. A Yiddish mother, Yiddish girl cannot nurse the child of a guy. Aval akum anika b'nashal Yisrael bershusa. One is allowed to have a Ovid Avodah Zarah nurse their child with their rishos. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan. Bas Yisrael lo siyalid as akamoim nesheles ben avadchavim. Bas chavim lo siyalid as Bas Yisrael neshachashud ashvichas yam divrei Rameir. So Rameir argues on the Mishnah, and Rameir says that we have to be concerned for a guy giving birth to a Yiddish child. Why? Because there's a sakful of shvichas damim. But the Chachamim Mrim, no. Avodas Zarah yalezes bas Yisrael bizman she'acharais omedes al gaba, as long as there are other achirais, other women standing over avoloi beina lebeina, but not in private. Says the Gemara of Rameir Omer, afilu acheres omedes al gaba nami loi. Rameir holds even if there are others standing over, you still are not allowed to have a guy to deliver your child. Why not? Explains the Gemara, you know why? It's good that there's other people there, but she can place her head over the child's forehead, depressing the membrane, killing the child without anyone seeing it. He in the Gemara tells a story. It's a woman said to her friend, Molda Yehudiyasa, Bas Molda Yehudasa, midwife of a Jew, the daughter of a midwife of a Jew. Amra Lord, she responded, Nefishin, Bishasa Dahiyitza. May as many evils befall that woman yourself due to the number of kids that were killed, to come Ashpelna, Minayu Dama, from all the blood that was spilled, Ki Ofia Dinahara, like that which flows the foam of a river. V'Rabbanan, what do the Rabbanan hold? Why do they hold it's mutter then? Amar le Amri lach lohi b'milsa ba'amo de kamisa. The midlife is just saying criticism with empty words, but it's not actually true. There's not really such a high level concern that the Goyim will cause such incredible murder. Continues the Gemara, 5 lines from the wide lines. Bas Yisrael loiseinik, we said that a Yid should not nurse a Goyish child. One is allowed to have a guy nurse their own child. Tana Rabbanan, says the Gemara, Bas Yisrael loiseinik b'nashalakum. Why? Maybe for the same reason you should not give birth to the child of a guy. Shemigadeles ben lakum bavakum, says the Brisa. Loi saying against Minashal Basi something shechashuda shvichas tamim. Rameir nachamo. So once again, Rameir argues on the Mishnah of Chama Imrim. No, Obedes Chavim Anika as Minashal Basi Israel. Bisman when shacher somenes lagabo, you don't have to be concerned. Avoloi beina lebeina. The same kasha says the Gemara. V'Rameir Omer afilu acheres omedes lagabo nami loi. It's still also, you know why? That this gaita could go and put poison on her outside of her breast, and kill the child. So even though there's other people there, there's nothing they'll be able to do. It says the Gemara Tzricha, what is the reason why we had to articulate the machlekes in both cases? The case of the delivering the child, as well as the case of nursing the child. Says the Gemara, I would have thought become Rabban on the Shari. Why do I have sure? There's no other way. Misham Dacheres Rai, so he sucks. Everyone sees what she's doing. Avol Manika Devsha the Shevle Sam the Dan Meavrai. When it comes to nursing, she has a simple way. Rahman al-Islam, of course, the arm, she puts poison on her breast, and no one's going to see. Maybe the Chacham are going to be masking. 6 lines into the white lines. I would have thought, why? Maybe like other people are there. There's no way that the midwife could cause any harm. Therefore, we listed both cases. Says the Gemara, Vire minhu. Let's ask a straight up stira to the din of the Mishnah. Says the Braisa, Yehudis mi'aledis avedes chavim b'schar. You're allowed to give birth to a Gaisha child for pay. Avalei b'chidam, not for free. Clearly contradicting the Mishnah. That the Mishnah said, what's the problem? The problem is you're giving birth to a child to Avodah Zarah. Amar Rav Yosef, b'schar shari mishom eva. I mean, it's not really mutter. It's only mutter because of the animosity, the pain, the fear that would come if the Yidden would not give birth to such a child. It's even mutter on Shabbos because of Eva. That for our own, that we are Mechal Shabbos, I'm able, Mechalin Aleyu. Maybe we can have a simple Torah. Says Rav Yosef, no. Excuse me, says Abaya. We have a way to dray out of it. We can tell them that we only are Mechal Shabbos for those that keep Shabbos. So says Abaye, maybe you should not give birth to a guy on Shabbos. Says Gemara, similarly, Rav Yosef holds that nursing a Gaisha child for pay is mutter because of Eva. Says Abaye Nachmo. You could say, you're able to say that what? If she's unmarried, then what? That what? Desire to get married. And if I nurse the child, it's going to cause difficulties. I cannot allow myself to come sell it in front of my husband. Again, explains the Gemara that if there's a way to dray out, if there's a way to cause there not to be Eva, then Abaya holds that is what is necessary. And it happens to be this discussion of Eva is a tremendous discussion, la halacha. This discussion, Meister Feinstein famously weighs in on Hatzalah taking calls from Goyim on Shabbos. How is it Shaykh? How could a Yid get into a car and drive to help a guy having a heart attack? We have to be cognizant of Eva, of what will happen if we do not. And of course, if one could dray out of it, as we see from Abaya, if you have a way to not take the call, if you have a way that it wouldn't become transparent and recognizable, then that seemingly is the halacha as well. Continues the Gemara, 4 lines to the bottom. That which we learned, that goyim and shepherds of small animals, we don't raise them from a pit, we don't lower them in a pit. Meaning, we can't kill them straight up, but we don't have to save their life. Asuki b'schar shari, saving a guy for pay is mutter misham eva. Amalei Abaya again. Abaya opines and says no. Yachlem lekai bari ayikra. Says Abaya, you can make him an excuse, and you could say, my son is on the roof, and I have to go help my son. I have an appointment. So says Abaya, as always, if you have a way to get out of it, that is the appropriate recourse, and not even for money to save the life of the guy, etc. Continues the Gemara. Tani Rav Avua Kamed Rav Yechon. The Brisa we just quoted, Goyim and those who raise small animals, as we turn over to Chavav and Beis, we're not allowed to push them into a pit, but if they are stuck in a pit, then we do not save their life. Explains the Gemara Aval, however, Haminim v'hamisayres v'hamumarim those three entities, and we'll see in a moment Rashi that's going to explain precisely what these three categories of people are. We, yes, lower them into a pit, but we do not save their life. So Rashi says, well, a min is a kumrin, is a priest. Musaras is malshinim, those who give over people to the government, and mumar. So these people, we have an obligation to put them in the pit and not save their lives. Means you could potentially kill them if possible. Amar lei, says the Gemara, no, Amar lei. So Rav Yechla says to Rav Avua, ani shaina. I learned a brayse that says, chol aveidas achicha lerabois es hamomar v'at hamrit aymaridin. Says Rav Avua, I don't understand. I have a apostle that says chol aveidas achicha, which teaches us that we have to even return an item to a momar. And you're telling me that we're allowed to kill him? Says the Gemara, Sami mikan momar, you're right. Remove momar, but rather it's referring to minim and those who give over people to the government Mesiris. But Lishni lay, says the Gemara 5 lines down, I don't understand. Why does Ravua answer and say, Kan says the Gemara, the classical chalik that we have so many times, the person, whether he's doing it for taiva, or is he doing it to anger God? Explains the Gemara, Kasavar, if someone eats the vela in defiance of the Torah to anger Hashem, he has a din of a min, and therefore he is included, as we said, minim. Says the Gemara, Itzmar, Mumar, Pligi Ravacha Ravina Chanam or Leteavain. One says if he does it for gratification is a mumar. Lahachas is a minhave, as we just said. Chanam Rafi lahachas dami mumar. Elezeu min ze'ak oivir alile kechavim. One who mamish worships pagan idols. Says the Gemara Meisvei oichel paroi shechod oyato shechod. If someone eats a flea or a gnat, harei zeh mumar. Ay v'ochad lahachasu. But over here, he's obviously doing it in the defiance of the Torah. Why? Because he doesn't actually gain anything from eating a bug. The Katani mummer, and it says he's a mummer. Says no, Hasan Bai limitam time of the surah. He wants to taste the time of something aser, which of course, Mayim Ginuvim Yimtaku, a fascinating idea that even though it's mamish disgusting, but the Gemara is suggesting that no, maybe there is some level of taiva there. Amar says the Gemara, what do we do with these people? We lower them into the pit and we don't bring them up. If we even lower than him, do we even have to say that we don't have to save their life? What it means is, if you went into a pit by himself and there's a ledge in the pit, Megara, which he can scrape away, and he would provide. There'd be a rationale for what he's saying. I wish to ensure my animals should not go down and die. Meaning, if there's a way to dray out of it. If there's a stone on top at the opening of the pit, and you could cover the pit with it. Amar laburi chevata iluyeh. I may need to lead my animals over the pit, and therefore I'm going to remove it. And then he just doesn't remove it, which will of course be a form of ridding one of such a mummer, or say such a min, or a kaimer, a priest, etc. If there's a ladder, you can remove it. I need to lower my son from the roof. You take the ladder as if you need to use it, and then you just don't bring it back. Says the Gemara, going back to the sugya we started with, which is delivering a baby, the wet nurse. Tanu Rabbanan, says the Gemara, Yisrael mal akom l'shom ger. A yid can circumcise a guy for the sake of becoming a ger. Lafuke. This comes to exclude l'shamarna, that if they're doing it for a surgery, there's some parasite on the guy to stop perform a surgery, to lie that you're not allowed. can't allow a guy to perform a circumcision. A third example of that which we started off today with, that we have to be concerned with the Goyim, even when there's other people there, according to Rameir. The Gemara in the last line is the same kasha. Why? Because you know why? Even though there's others there, the guy might have a knife and he'll tilt it and he'll make it that this yid can never have children. Savar Rameir Akum Loi. Does Rameir really hold that a guy is not allowed to perform a bris milah v'raminu ir she'in ba roifi Yisrael v'ish ba roifi kusi v'roifi akum yimol akum val yimol kute divrei Rameir. Rav Yehuda Imer yimol kute al yimol akum. So we see that Rameir holds you could be gemalt by a guy, by an akum. Epoch says you have to switch around the two shitais. Rameir Imer no, let a kuti do a yimol kuti v'lo akum. Rav Yehuda Imer akum v'lo kuti. Says the Gemara of Savar Rav Yehuda akum sha'apir dami. So after you switch them around, it comes out that Rav Yehuda holds the guy is okay. So we see Rav Yehuda also holds you can't ever miss by a guy. On the last line, don't switch it around. In the Bryce that says Rameir holds it allowed, as we turn over to Chav Zayin Aleph, explains the Gemara. The Rameir faults, and Rameir holds that if you're having a surgery, a circumcision done by a Roife, Fiza Momcha, then you don't have to be worried he wouldn't do something to ruin his profession and cause the yid to be a Kruv Shechel to Mutter. Then it's going to be mutter. We'll stop over here. I'll pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmaya.